morning in general, I'm talking with friends who I get my news from. So, hi, Rana.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you? What the hell is going on? I don't know.
You haven't? That sounds really nice. I just took like a tiny bit of an edible to, do life because I'm gonna work after this. My boss isn't watching this. It's okay. Well, right now, I mean, honestly, right now it's not surprising where we're at, which doesn't make it good, but good morning. Hi. Biden has like 227 electoral votes, and Trump has 215 last I saw. Anyone can correct me. Hi, Mama. I love you too.
Hi, Mama. Um,
Um,
yeah, so Biden's winning, I guess?
yeah, technically Biden's winning. You definitely wouldn't know that being online.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, at least like the Twitter feeds that I feel like I'm privy to. And I
Mm.
think it's just like everyone's so traumatized from the last election, but also super aware that Trump's already made it clear that he doesn't want to accept the results if he loses. So I feel like there's this very, very understandable air of just like clenching our assholes until like something really like until the final tally is counted, but also until like Trump like I don't know sends out his forces to like
Right.
shut down the polls, like
I
shut down the
know.
ballot counters. I know the polls are already shut down. Sorry, everyone. I'm a little hungover, but I assume everyone assume we're all hungover.
Oh my God. Listen, Bronwyn, this year I knew what happened to me in 2016 with the election. I totally believed the New York Times. I'm still working out my setup. Can you tell?
Honestly, I love that. That's exactly how I feel right now. Like just like that falling over. It's like very
Dude,
relatable.
dude. Point is, I'm 2016. I believed Hillary was going to win. I wasn't a big Hillary fan. I was a Bernie fan, but I was
Yeah.
obviously preferred Hillary to fucking Donald Trump. And honestly, I pretty much underestimated like his support, as most New Yorkers fucking did, because
So did I.
we all believe the New York Times, which I no longer trust on a couple levels. But
I unfortunately like totally believed Nate Silver. I mean, I knew that there was a chance that
I
Trump would
know.
win, but
So listen,
yeah.
yeah, you know what's really funny is I only looked at Nate Silver's numbers at like 9 p.m. because we were having like a party at my house, like to like enjoy the election, like in
Oh,
2016, and like I had newly started dating someone, and I think I told them I loved them that day. I was like full of like joy, and
oh, Sarah.
yeah, I actually definitely told them I loved them too soon. I should have waited on that, but I also, once I realized Trump was winning, then I checked Nate Silver's forecast, which is crazy. It's like I knew on a lower level that Nate Silver probably was right, but I didn't fucking look at what Nate Silver was saying. And then I did when it was happening, and then I fucking blacked out on purpose. I was like, I'm
Oh,
getting hammered. I'm not being sentient through the night.
I absolutely
But
blacked out in
but for real,
2016.
girl, this year I had to couldn't watch the news all day. Went to bed at like midnight, 1 a.m. Woke up at 6. Did not drink tea. Did not drink alcohol.
Wow. Okay, you know what? I respect that. I was proud of myself for just like not getting super messy, like in 2016 I went on Facebook and would make all caps like statuses fighting people, which obviously,
That's funny.
it's yeah, like I didn't think that I was going to change anyone's mind. Like I wasn't delusional. I wasn't like people are going to learn from me. I was just like fuck you. And like I still have that anger, but like Facebook specifically, I know that if I take it out there, I'm just going to get more angry and like it's going to be like this feedback loop.
Yeah.
Um, and somebody's going to like troll me and
Yeah.
whatever. But so I was just like I got high and I drank we made mulled wine and I went on my roof last night. And honestly, like
That's nice.
yeah, it was actually, I mean, it feels fucked up to say because we're all just like, Yeah, sober election watching, that is like primo. It wasn't peaceful, but it was as peaceful as it could have been, because I've been just expecting the worst as a coping mechanism while hoping for the best, of course. And so I'm not surprised where the numbers are. Obviously, I would have preferred, Biden win in a landslide.
Wait, I'm a little confused. I thought I heard you say earlier that Biden was winning. Am I wrong?
Oh, he is. Okay, so he is winning. He's ahead right now. However, they're close enough that either of them could win at this point. And so obviously a lot of people were hoping that it would have been enough of Biden would have been enough in the lead that we wouldn't be worrying about this today.
Right.
But I've also been preparing myself for the fact that there's already been a lot of issues with voter repression, and that's an ongoing issue. But also that there might just be straight up intimidation yesterday. I know that there has been voter intimidation at several polling places. To be honest, I'm not sure. I was so overwhelmed with information yesterday, I couldn't keep track of how much of that was going on, yesterday.
I know. That's the issue with the news cycle, is like you can read something different every 10 minutes and go on an emotional roller coaster all day. And that's why I've just opted out, because I'm like, first of all, like my friends are so much better at telling me the news than the news is. I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? It's like, I like defer to my friends in Brooklyn as like local journalists more than an actual newspaper, which is kind of cool, I guess. But like, it's definitely better than us not having that as a resource. Like, I definitely am like blessed to discover that like I can actually find out information I find trustworthy through my friends. Versus through the internet, because the internet is just so full of clickbait. It's all just like fear mongering, anxiety inducing, hope giving, hope taking away. It's emotionally driven, and like I'm emotional enough. Like I don't need more fucking emotional material to disturb myself with. I wake up and I want to cry. So I don't. Why would I do that more to myself? Like I've some of my best friends are just completely ruined by the way the media is. Sorry, but thank you so much for fucking. Who would I be without you being informed at the end of the day, though? Like, thank you. Like, I need to know what's happening.
I mean, honestly, I think it's really hard, especially with the election, knowing how much to stay connected and how much not, because there is this narrative that it's your civic duty to like be depressed.
I know. I disagree.
Right. Like, if you're not watching every single result and freaking out, then you don't care. And I don't agree with that narrative. But on the other hand, there's a lot at stake. And so it's so hard finding that line between like how much news you intake. And I think like just like taking a day or taking a few hours and then, returning and taking in some news rather than like even that is so much more emotionally healthy than the endless doom scroll that I definitely find myself on, which is why I go the other way sometimes and I actively try to seek out constructive news, not to paper over the terror of fascism, but to be like, okay, it's very hard for us to see the wins from progressive organizers and the wins from activists when we're fighting against the state. But it's also important for us to see those wins because they are small compared to like, Trump sending out the National Guard to arrest protesters. But they're also like, they're significant. They're significant.
It's like there's one big election with the big guys, and then there's like all these really, really small ones all over the country that are incredibly inspiring and like fortifying for the soul. And like, you do need to know that there is hope, and it's on us to make it work, because if we don't do it, no one else will.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I like feel fueled by rage. Like that is like my energy source.
Yeah, I know.
But then I try to put it towards I don't even want to use the word positivity because I feel like that's such a reductive word, right? And it becomes so toxic because people will just be like, oh, just like shut up and be, happy. But like try to put it into action and collaboration that feels constructive.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like honestly with like how the election is going right now, I could see, okay, here's my theory.
Yeah,
and this is not an original theory. This is, a lot of people think this. It's kind of exactly where I thought it would be right now, where it looks like Trump could still win, because the absentee ballots haven't been counted and those tend to skew Democrat. However, Trump, of course, wants to claim an early victory, even though he's not even ahead right now. And
he would. He's
yeah,
so
like it's
funny.
like you're actually still not
God.
ahead.
He's hilarious. Yeah. Honestly, that's the thing. Here's a dumb joke I made yesterday, Bronwyn. I was like, okay, write me in for president to my friends. I was saying this. And then I was like, and put Donald Trump on the Supreme Court because that guy's funny. I want to hear his opinions for the next, until he dies. He's hilarious because I hate him, obviously. Like the problem is that he affects real people, which it absolutely blows. Put that guy back on TV. He's funny. He's hilarious. The way he would even think that he should be declaring victory while he's losing is what's so funny and charming about his personality. And that's why these people like him, Bronwyn. Like, that's why people like him. I watched this Cuban woman or Hispanic woman last night talking about how she's such a Trump supporter because she's just like Trump. She says what she thinks. Trump says what he thinks. And And I'm like, oh my God, this is the problem, because aesthetically, he's incredibly charismatic. He is.
Well, yeah, he's got like a Bad Girls Club vibe, right?
Yes.
Like I used to watch Bad Girls Club, and remember that episode where one of them puts like hot sauce in the juice of her nemesis, and you're like, wow, this is so fucking toxic, but also I love her.
I love it.
And I mean, Donald Trump appeals to like the sinister, fear, racism and ignorance of America. But okay. I mean, having him on TV, I completely agree. Like, if he'd never been president, but now I'm just like, it's hard because I don't think he'll ever go to jail for anything ever. And the reason that like we're so traumatized that technically Biden's still ahead and technically either of them can win, like but so many people I know are already just resigning themselves to the fact that Trump might take this, is because Trump has cheated on so many, like, and so we're just like, it's not that we don't think Biden could get more votes, it's that we're like, okay, what the fuck is Trump gonna do? He's already built a fortress around the White House. But I think it's important to not, like, I also go there in my coping mechanisms of preparing for the worst, but I think it's also good to not allow Trump to do that in our minds, because when we say, oh, he's won when he hasn't, that justifies him, like that justifies his manipulation and makes it easier for him. Like that's like a tactic that abusers use and that fascist leaders use, is like beating down their people so hard that you just prepare for the next beating. And I'm sorry if that's like a really brutal way to say it.
You're right. You're so smart. That's so true. There is such a parallel between like politics and like sociology and then like interpersonal social psychology. Like, he is a chaotic dom. He's a chaotic, evil dom. And people love chaos. People are bad at just sussing out good versus evil. They can tell he's dominant and they know he's a quote businessman. I mean, that's obviously my mother's reason for liking Trump, is the idea that he's a businessman and we need somebody who can be good at business. I actually kind of agree with like that theory. I don't think the execution is correct. I think people don't understand, obviously, that he's a bad businessman, but like secondarily that he's a complete shill and sellout to like whoever's paying him the most money to have whatever opinion helps him accrue power, which is like an evil person. An evil person doesn't have morals. It would be honestly sicker if he was like standing by the fact that he's friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, he
Right.
did that a little bit. He said like he wished Jelaine well or whatever, which is hilarious. Like, you're fucking psychotic. Like, what's wrong with you? Why would you wish Jelaine Maxwell well? Jelaine Maxwell is a terrible person.
Yeah, I
And
mean, and I think that's, I mean, that's still the defense, right? That people have is they're like, oh, he's just a ham. And
yeah,
it's like, yeah, he's a ham, but he's a ham who's like responsible for people dying.
yeah,
Um, but I think, I mean, some of it goes back to how big this country is too. It's
yeah,
so easy to feel disconnected from other people and from consequences
yeah.
when like every single state is like the size of a country.
I
And
know. I
so we're
know.
supposed to
I
absorb
know.
and have empathy and have
Hey.
intelligence about, policies that maybe affect another state more, or funding disperse like the dispensation of certain federal funding. Like, I
Yeah.
understand why people are able to have the
Right.
cognitive dissonance to not care on a certain level, but when
Mhm.
it comes to how, and that's not justifying it, by the way.
Yeah, I
I'm
know, I
not
know,
like
I know. You're like
but when it comes
empathizing,
to
you're
like,
not sympathizing. That's a
can
delineation I always draw. I was thinking about men's
yeah,
rights activists. I'm like, I empathize with men's rights activists. It is true that I can walk into a room and have sex more easily than most men. That is true.
yeah,
But their conclusions are wrong, and I hate them.
yeah.
Anyway,
It would be
continue.
funny if you came out as a men's rights activist this morning. Our country has been through enough, Sarah. You're like, you're like, actually, it is women's fault. So
I would
let's
like to
go
use
in.
this time to blame women and deny all victims. I would
Yeah,
like to use this.
yeah. Like
Yeah, right.
we just come on here and just like throw more shit at the. Also, it was written that like
The dumpster fire
Donald
of
Trump was
culture.
annoying on TV, and I do agree. I didn't respond to that when that was written, but like,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Was he
I mean, I
annoying?
agree that Donald Trump's always been annoying, but I think that's why people watched him on TV, because they're
Yeah.
just like, I'm not as ridiculous as this man. Um, and somehow that has turned into the psychology that, we don't need to go into Trump voters,
Yeah.
because like, god damn
Yeah.
it.
I mean, there's so many reasons people vote for Trump across all identities that are really interesting to me. The voters who are most interesting to me are the ones who voted Obama and then voted Trump. Interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people write those people off as like unwell. And I'm like, I kind of understand writing them off in that way, but also like the fact is we need to really understand why voters like that can even exist in order to solve the issue.
I
Like,
mean,
why
I
does that exist? I
I
kind of
think
have some ideas.
I think it goes back to cognitive dissonance. Like, the racism requires cognitive dissonance, right? Like the fact
Right.
that people can act like America, which was founded on fucking
Slavery.
genocide and slavery, like
Yeah.
that people are like, what, America could never be bad. And it's like, okay, you're probably white, or you're not white and you have distanced yourself from
Yeah.
all of the
White
fucking,
supremacy or you
yeah. And
identify with it. Maybe you haven't, you've distanced yourself to it
right.
by acclimating and assimilating. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're like, well, if I don't put my fist in the air, then maybe people won't recognize that I'm not white and they won't treat me that way. Or like if you're white and you claim that you're not racist, but then you vote for Trump, you're basically just saying, oh, well, Martin Luther King Jr. Existed. Like that's always the thing.
Oh,
And
I
it's like,
know. That is always the thing. That is the thing my
yeah,
mother says too, is like, Martin Luther King Jr., died for this, and like, why can't we
it's like
all
he
just
was
get
murdered.
along?
Like, what do you
Yeah.
like?
I know, you crazy person. And the thing is too, like, I will talk to my mom about this. I'll be like, okay, I understand. Yeah, he did die. That sucked. Like, people are still dying, right? Like,
Yeah,
and my mother's a white Southerner who lives in Connecticut, so she's always like assumed to be racist before she even gets to do anything racist, which is funny because my mother's not racist in terms of like a purposeful
a
anything. Like,
social racism.
yeah, like she's friendly and like she works with a lot of she's a caretaker for a lot of black people, and she's a loving nurse and she builds relationships with these people. It's great. Like, her work is amazing. Her energy and her heart is in the right place. That's what's hard for me, is like she just doesn't understand for some reason, I keep trying to tell her, like, you know how you don't like when people judge you based on what you look like and they make assumptions about who you are because of how you present? You know how you don't like that? You know that's what's happening to these black men, right? You know that's what's happening to them. People are assuming that they're violent, assuming that they're dangerous, and then they're enacting the death penalty on them for no good reason. You know that, right? And she's just can't get it. She's like, da, 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 da.
Well, a lot of like, I mean, I think a lot of people in general, but I mean, especially white, because, you know, racism benefits white people, like, don't want to listen to that stuff, because then they have to reevaluate, like, the fact that they haven't been thinking or noticing how fucking horrible things are for other people, and that's an indictment on their own personhood. Like, they're like, I don't want to recognize that I could be so self-centered or like blind to, you know, what is fucking happening to people who live next to me, so I'm just going to pretend it's not happening.
It's like a defense mechanism almost. It's like, because my mom is so loving and so caring. Like, she's a nurse. I love her work. I'm so proud of her. I cherish her. I don't want her to work anymore. She drives a car, and, you know, she's been in 2 car accidents in the last year doing her job as a nurse. She worked with some of the first COVID patients, and she's almost 70. Like, I love her. I adore her. Her work is incredibly important to the fabric of society. I could never do what my mother does. My mother is strong in ways I'm not, you know? But my mom has blinders on. She doesn't understand that just because she means well doesn't mean there aren't problems that are bigger than her that she could do something about.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and this is not an indictment on your mom specifically, but I think that's like one of the tricks of being privileged in any way and like not having to see or feel things, is that we have this delusion of goodness, you know, like that's always the thing. It's always like, actually, I'm a good person. Actually, I'm loving. Actually, you know, like this and this and this, and it recenters us. Like, you know, it's then it's about our feelings, and then it's about like, well, actually, like I'm like really great, and it's like, okay, well, if you are so loving, then shut the fuck up.
I know.
Shut the fuck up and learn. And I'm saying this to myself. I'm not like, I've done every fucking annoying thing in the book, and I probably will continue to. I mean, look at these fucking glasses I'm wearing, you know. They're blue light, actually. They're blue light blocking.
Same. I wear fake glasses all the time because I think they're like a cool personality.
Well, I like it because like I would get headaches from the computer, but I also like them because I feel like people do take me more seriously.
They do. I mean, you have to hide behind your glasses, basically. They always talk about the girl taking the glasses off. They never talk about putting them on.
That's exactly. Sometimes you got to put on the glasses to you know, get the prom date at the end of the movie, and that's just what it is.
The prom date you want. You don't want the jock. You don't want the jock. You want the guy on the bleachers, really, honestly. I do.
I want the guy who is selling Adderall, and it's probably I want the high schooler who's either gonna like get arrested for selling Adderall, or he's gonna like try to do a startup, and then like it's gonna fail because he doesn't really know how business works.
That sounds like me, Bronwyn.
Like my high school taste. Actually, my high school taste, there's a lot there. Hi, Maria.
I know Maria. Hello, Maria.
Yes. They are great to look at when you're looking at your phone. I mean, I feel like I wear these all the time because I'm always fucking looking at a screen, and you know, that's the thing.
I know. Oh my God. I don't know what we were even saying. Oh wait, I just want to touch on one last thing. I know you have to go soon. But the thing I want to touch on is like, shut the fuck up and listen, but also like after you listen, you need to act, because white silence, there's truth to that bullshit. Sorry, I call it bullshit because I think social media is a terrible way to talk about politics. Unless I like nod
vigorously as I like talk about politics all the time. I'm like, it is.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I abstained completely when the Black Lives Matter stuff started happening. I was like, I'm not political online anymore. I don't need to be talking right now. And I don't like watching white people simp for white people and black people online. I think it's pathetic. But the thing is, like, The intention is correct. The intention is that you shouldn't be silent. But what is the right way to speak is something we need to start thinking about. It's like you shouldn't start leading the chant at a BLM protest. You don't. You don't. As a white person, you need to shut the fuck up. You need to shut the fuck up at the protest, right? But then when it comes to your goddamn white mom and your white friends, you need to fucking yell at them. You need to yell at your friends.
Yeah.
It's like you need to shut the fuck up or you need to start yelling. And you need to know who and when to be yelling at, you know? So.
Yeah, and I think yelling is something that sometimes you do it and you're like, oh, well, I got that out and I don't know if that person heard. But
yeah.
And other times you're like, oh shit, like I think there was a conversation there. Or maybe this person like is angry at me now for initiating this conversation or calling them out or sharing the ways that I've learned and they don't fucking care.
They don't know. They're not ready yet. And it's also like, this shit takes time. Like my thoughts on gender and race have been evolving like always. Yeah, never in my life have I had a static opinion on any of that. It's always building on my experiences and it's truly evolving, which is honestly beautiful. Like it should be that way. You shouldn't have the same opinion about gender and race your whole life. It needs to grow.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you probably have to work now, right?
Yeah, I do. Is it 9? Oh, what is time?
Yeah.
I don't know. I slept like 5 hours, which I'm assuming is the case for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I slept 5-6 hours last night. Sometimes you don't need that much sleep.
Yeah, I feel energized in that kind of like manic winter thing. Somebody posted about the Irish government. We need to look up what the Irish government is doing with
babies.
Oh, is that like, are you talking about in history when they would send pregnant girls to convents and then they'd secretly, have babies and then the babies would be adopted and then they'd send the girls back. I don't know. There's so many fucking things that have happened with like pregnant teens being hidden away and giving birth. There's some family drama with that I could talk about sometime.
Yeah.
Right now. Okay, I will go to work. I'm glad we got to talk.
Yeah. Well,
all of the women still don't know where their kids are.
Oh, damn. God. Well, thanks for telling us. Thank you, but ouch, but thank you. I'm gonna look into it. I hate that even happens. There's a reason I avoided studying gender. Okay, bye. I'll talk to Anthony next. Anthony, are you here?
Wait, how do I leave? Do I just
press X? It's like X.
Oh wow. Hey everybody, I don't know how to use a computer.
A boop. Bye, Bronwyn. Love you. Have a great day. Thank you, Bronwyn. My friend Anthony should be joining soon. Anthony, I see you in the chat. I see there's a participant, allegedly. I think maybe he's trying to join. I'm sorry, Bronwyn. I'm going to disconnect you or put you in the waiting room or something. Okay, she's gone. So, Anthony, why are you in the Zoom? My friend Anthony. Wonderful, Anthony. So, I'm going fellas, if she's reading the 48 Laws of Power, you gotta watch it. Yeah, no one's fucking with me. I need to figure out what these people are. It's not really about me as much as it is about, oh yeah, Anthony's coming. It's not so much about me as it is figuring out like how people use power. That if I ever have it, I get to use it okay. Because I don't think abusing power is good. I think Trump is good. I think Trump. Ooh, I lost my connection. Oh, sorry, I'm back. Anthony, I guess, is here. Anthony, I can't really listen to you through the Zoom call right now. You need to request to join the live. Go into the comment here, and then press request to join. And then mute your computer. Mute your computer so we don't get feedback. Isn't it crazy? Like doing this live stuff is pretty fun. Like I did it first time with Zoe last week. It was fucking sick. I loved it. Like Zoe was awesome. She helped me like figure that out. I'm getting a better webcam and all that.
Oh my
Hey
God.
Anthony.
Oh, wow, I am as disheveled as I imagined.
I know. I imagine you disheveled too. I hear myself echoing.
Can I be here? Does that work? Put this somewhere.
Did you mute your computer?
Yeah. Oh wait, I should stand by this because you're getting audio from this for later, right? Sorry to like walk you through these technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We're fine. It's just that I do hear myself, which might be my fault. Oh, I know why. Because you don't have headphones in, probably. That's fine.
Give me 30 seconds here. I'll let you see this flag here.
I'll look at the flag. Oh, look at Anthony's bedroom.
Well, guys,
Anthony has a cool bedroom.
I was trying to interpret literally, using the computer. I agree with Bronwyn. It's not easy. I don't know.
No, it's not. No, it isn't. It's not natural, really. The computer's really hard. I'll be honest with you, before I started coding, I was pretty bad at computers in general. And then I got good because I had to, basically. But it's not like easy. Chaotic morning. I need to figure out a Patchwork setup for my camera. You know, I do. Hey, John, what the hell is up? How are you? Sorry to call you out, but John is a friend of a friend who I never see. Nice person. But yeah.
How are you feeling this morning as I disentangled my?
I feel happy to have spoken with Bronwyn. Happy to speak to you. I was saying earlier that I don't trust the media in general. I trust my friends, and my friends who have much more emotional resilience than me are able to go online and figure out what's what and share it with me. And without you guys, I don't know where I would be getting my news, because I don't really trust mainstream media anymore, and not in the fucking like alt-righty way, and not in like a Trumpy fake news way, and not in a QAnon way. I just don't believe that the media has good motives, because they're profit driven. And when you're profit driven, you have every reason to behave badly, because it's all about driving up your numbers so you can make more money. And that's not a good reason to be making media. So
I agree with you, and I had this thought, like a shower thought just now, which is that if Trump wins again, I think everyone who's like in shock or surprised should all go watch Tucker Carlson, because they just don't. People don't they don't speak the same language, and they should know the language that these other people speak.
Right. The major thing is, like, you should be paying attention to all news in order to educate yourself, because even if you think that news is false, the narratives are real, and the narratives are shaping reality. The narratives are affecting the vote. If you don't understand why Trump won, you are 5,000 years behind. You need to understand why Trump won and might win again.
Yeah, well, should we just go into election talk? Should we try to avoid? Maybe that'll be fun if we try to talk about anything but the election.
Well,
and then it'll seep its way back in. It'll find its way. It's omnipresent. No, we could totally talk about it. All right. Well, another good take, a hot take. I think it was a repost. I don't know. Somebody I saw on Twitter. I just posted. It was somebody said, it's actually the worst case scenario if Joe Biden wins. He could still win, but because he wins through like the shadiest means of like counting a few votes, and Trump can always claim that Trump can like go out the rest of his days claiming that he actually won, even if it's like a few votes in Pennsylvania or whatever it came down to. And then think about just like society as a whole, and the inevitable giant crashes we're all gonna live through if you're young, just like the economy, the environment, the race war, etc. And then all of that happens now on Biden's watch. So then like as society collapses and plummets and like goes to hell, now like the symbolic fall guy is Joe Biden. It's like, oh, Trump would have fixed this, but now we have this guy in power. So like even the possibility of a Biden presidency at this moment is fucking horrible. Like anything short of a landslide is very bad news. So sorry, that's my hot take for pre-coffee
That's
take.
interesting. Anything short of a landslide. I actually kind of agree with you. That's the big issue is like it has to be a landslide. I
And,
know
it's
that
not,
the
and now
voters-
we at least ruled that out now. Like that's the one thing it
Yeah.
can't be. Unless I'm wrong, maybe there's just millions of envelopes somewhere that all are skewing 9-1 for Joe.
Yeah, well, I hate that. But one good thing to know is that voter turnout is higher than ever, which I think is a good sign about like people's heads. Even if it's for the wrong reasons, people turning out to vote for Trump. I just think democratic engagement is really important. I'm really glad that it isn't lower than ever. I think I'd be really worried if voter turnout was lower than ever.
No, it's actually like this whole electoral college thing, because like the Democrats are winning, and not only they're winning, there's like all these awesome people around the country. We have like New York has its own little special like lefty wave that's been happening, but then there's like Cori Bush is where, in Missouri.
I don't know exactly, but she's sick. I like her.
Yeah, there's like and then all the squad won re-election by like huge margins. So the thing is like and they're from all over the place, like Ilhan in Minnesota. Like, so it's not even I don't know, it's clearly like it's not a red state, blue state thing. The electoral college is like a big obstacle, but 4 years ago they could have just like split California or something. That could have just been.
So you mean like it made it 2 states in North and South?
or like 3 or 4,
center.
And then they'd get senators. They could just like San Diego's its own place. LA, like they could just do that, and like it would just be a permanent Democratic majority in the Senate for a while, and it would offset the electoral college.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that idea. Well, it's not going to happen.
No, well, I bring it up. It's like planted in my brain because I don't know how deep into.
You know why it's not going to happen? I'll tell you why. Well, many reasons, right? But a huge one is like California, like as diverse as California is, California likes having the power it does. And so they're not going to split up California. Like they'd rather have like warring factions within California where winner takes all than actually be democratic about what is actually happening in California, right?
Yeah, it's like if you have the fall guy of the rest of America, you could just, keep your own like low-level corruption, whatever goes on. Yeah. I don't know, these roof guys across the street. If they get too loud, let me know.
No, they're fine. They're not loud. What's happening on the roof across the street?
I'm watching a guy stick a leaf blower down a pipe on a roof.
That's funny.
Actually, that kind of makes sense. They must get leaves.
Yes, it happens on my roof.
You don't think about this in New York City.
It does happen on my roof because we'll get a leak, and why is it leaking? Oh, because there's leaves in the pipe on the roof. We have to remove the leaves so that the water can go down the pipe.
And this is a great analogy for America because.
Oh my God, I agree with you, Anthony. It's a metaphor. We need to fucking take the leaves, drain the swamp.
The leaves are racism.
Yes, the leaves are racism and sexism and homophobia and all other bigotry, and we have to take all the leaves out of the drain so that the drain the swamp can be grown.
Obviously, that's the most. This is how these vote blue, no matter who people they actually think like that.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg voters really believe in this theory. Should I wait? Do you want good news or bad news? Because I was going to go into like bad news territory. Okay, well, because the thing.
The order.
Well, just off the top of my head, the reason I was talking about this California splitting thing, is one thing in like fringe conspiracy QAnon sort of territory, but like the left version of it, like the people that investigate QAnon or like lefties that like look into Epstein, whatever.
Yeah.
There's this thing called like, I don't know, there's this podcast out there called like the Dark Winter, because Joe Biden said like this phrase, like we're gonna have a dark winter. And then there are all these like conspiracy, and then this is all for just anyone to Google if they want to go down a dark rabbit hole. But it's like, Operation Dark Winter is like, we're going to split up America. It's going to break up into multiple countries, blah, blah, blah. And that, and so these like, they apparently like had almost like a war games sort of election, which way the election will go, like worst case scenarios, just to like get the country prepared, which is probably what they're like building a wall for Trump. Anyway, maybe. I was saying that like they've gamed out these election scenarios so that they could prepare for the worst. And I think like it might relate to that non-scalable wall in front of the White House that's there.
What do you mean non-scalable
wall? Let's talk. They built this wall that you can't climb.
That's funny.
Yeah, he built the wall,
border.
and it's like, yeah, exactly.
Build the wall.
Maybe it's it might be a recycled border fence. So I don't know.
Hilarious. If Trump like upcycled a border fence, like I took a little bit of the Berlin Wall and I took a little bit of the wall I am building in Mexico. I took all of the best walls, or however he fucking talks. All the best walls. My wall. I can't do an impression of Trump. I'm so bad at impressions. I try, but I'm not good.
If you could do a good, like Jordan Lilly can do a good Trump impression, and like might as well just do it all the time. Like once you could, shout out J Lils, who's not in this chat right here, but
J Lils get in the chat. That's fine.
Well, I don't know. What else should we talk about? Maybe there's good news. Maybe
what is the good news? Could you tell me? Bronwyn told me some good news. Well, the good news, as we all know, is that progressives are winning the smaller elections. And I do think there's more progressives. I think there's more populist progressives than we get credit for in the media. Because it's like, you look at all the small wins and you add them up and they're huge. And it's exciting and really inspiring. And it's really hard for me, a little bit, because I'm like, oh, it's gonna take forever if this ever reaches like the presidency, like to get a good leader in the White House, it's gonna be hard.
We're all gonna be in our like mid to late 30s or 40s. Like you have to really like game it, like think of yourself like you're not, like prime adulthood, you're middle age.
Yeah.
What does this country look like? And then it has to be like a vision board. You like manifest it, you put it up there, and then you like have your vision, and now you work towards it with like maybe concrete steps. And
yes, the vision board is not enough. The vision board is important, but it's not enough.
I have a friend, and her old roommate is they're both actors, and her old roommate would allegedly wake up, and for an hour every day he would sit and he would stare at his vision board and just manifest. It was like, that's what he's doing. An hour.
He's manifesting?
He would sit. I don't.
Did it
So
work?
imagine the vision board says like SNL writer's room, and every day he's just like getting up and just staring at the vision board. No, it didn't. Of course it could. But if it did work, it would totally confirm it.
I know.
It's like Jim Carrey wrote himself a $20 million check or something like that, and then it's like one of these like things that go around.
I love Jim Carrey. Fuck, he's my favorite person, honestly. When I think about performers that like are really inspiring to me, it's like Jim Carrey.
Have you watched
the Coffin movie yet?
No, not the Coffin. The Coffin movie?
Kaufman. He plays Andy Kaufman.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like a biopic or whatever.
I thought that you said Coffin movie, which I thought was a movie based on when he had to carry his deceased ex in a coffin, which was a very famous photo, which actually would be the darkest movie ever.
That's funny, no.
But did you watch Kidding?
I don't know movies. I keep telling people this. People are always like, have you seen? I'm like, no, I don't fucking know any movies. I'd love to watch them, but I'm like 20 years behind. Like I grew up watching like children's movies. My mother liked children's movies, and I Love Lucy and Shirley Temple, and what else did she like? Like old romances. And then I listened to country music until I was 13, and then I got a radio and I started listening to hip hop and R&B. And that's it. That's my fucking cultural background. And then I had to educate myself on like everything, like literally everything, finances, culture, everything.
And so now you're catching up with like
Catching up.
highbrow Showtime
I'll be
series.
honest, I do love movies. I didn't realize I loved them until people who love movies entered my life and started showing me movies. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I get why people love this.
You should watch the Charlie Kaufman movie that's in the comments here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm thinking of ending things. I just watched it.
Yeah.
Look at that. I'm thinking of ending things. No, it's like a play. Like it would have been a better play, I think, than a movie. Because his movie, I think of ending things, because it's like two people in a car, a couple in a car on like a road trip driving together, and then you see them age like 40 years, parents. And
wow, what's it called?
It's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Oh, that sounds really good. Maybe I'll watch it after this.
If you want, if you want to go further down, like that's the thing. If you want a down slope of like a downward spiral of like depressing media and like podcasts and like.
I watch depressing media in the day and happy media
Hey,
at
Matt.
night. Who's Matt?
Matt Jacques from Bros. You've at least seen him act in something.
That's cool. Hi, Matt. I like Bros.
Matt,
Anthony, here, time to plug Anthony. Anthony is a really smart and interesting person who makes stuff. And you should follow him and check out what he made. He made this really cool thing called American Refugees with really cool people. It's really funny and really charming. And how is it both like really like insightful cultural commentary and funny and like joyful to watch, in my opinion. So.
Well, thank you. That's a great plug.
Yeah, I didn't tell you what I thought about it, but that's what I think about it.
That's very sweet. Matt would have liked that I plugged Tucker Carlson at the top of this conversation.
I know.
Which is like, we had this long debate about populism.
Can you tell me what you think about Tucker Carlson? I don't know anything about him. I know that people hate him really, and people talk about him a lot. I don't even know if I want to open up the fucking can of worms, and I'm sure he is. It's like, sometimes I look at a person and I'm like, that's a can of worms. I'm gonna avoid that can of worms.
He's definitely a can of worms. But he's the most popular.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing like to the extent that this is news commentary and we're the least popular news commentators in America. He is the most popular. Yeah, well, we're coming for you, Tucker. No, he's the most popular. So he's like the new Bill O'Reilly, but he's younger, so he has longevity. He could do it for 20 years if he wants. Maybe he'll run for president. He might follow Trump. It's like it's all a disaster that people should at least be aware of. I don't know. Yeah. It's like you watch one episode, you'll get it. But his thing is he'll have on.
Is he bad? Who does he have on?
He'll have on like Glenn Greenwald or like that's one of the controversies with the intersection.
That's cool.
But some people that are like left wing or left.
They disagree with Glenn Greenwald even going on.
They disagree with Glenn going on, but then like left people that are say critical of Biden, like far left, that you're critical of Biden, critical of Obama. Fox loves having those people on. They're like, oh, please, talk bad about the Democrats. We want to hear it. We'll give you airtime. And so they love like Fox loves a good. You'd be great. You'd have to have a definitive like. Opinion. Well, I think you'd have to have like an issue. Like give me an issue. Give me an issue that you're full scripted on. Abortion. Or an issue that okay, all right.
You want to know my take on abortion?
Here we are. Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Well, I think abortion sucks, and it really sucks. But sometimes you have to do it, and I don't think that it makes sense to oversimplify abortion into pro-life and pro-choice. I think that's a very rhetorically weak, assessment of what we're talking about when we talk about abortion. I think abortion is a much harder issue than that. I have had to almost have an abortion when I was in college, and I didn't like it. I felt like a tree poisoning myself. I felt like very of the earth and like very vulnerable and very maternal, but I knew that I shouldn't have a child at 18 or 19. I knew it didn't really make sense, and it certainly wasn't on purpose. So I went and I had to do the exam, and I had to find out that, sorry, Sarah, the fetus, you're pregnant, you're chemically pregnant, but the fetus is actually not mature enough for us to conduct an abortion today. You got to come back in 2 weeks. So I had to go back home and wait for a baby to develop before I could end the life of the fetus. So I don't think a fetus is a person. I don't, because I would never commit murder. But I do believe it's a version of life, and I don't like having to hurt anything, especially something that's a part of me, and that was heartbreaking for me to have to even think about the idea that that would be something I would even need to do. And I understood abortion much better by having to go through it or not go through it. I ended up miscarrying, which was a goddamn blessing, honestly. So happy I did. So yeah, that's what I think about abortion. Like the fact is, like abortion is a bummer. Like we don't want to have to be doing abortions in general. Like when people make the argument that abortion is like genocide, they have a point because why is it that the woman who founded Planned Parenthood like is a racist? She didn't like black people, and she was happy to be doing abortions for them, and she's a bad person. And it's not a coincidence that people are okay with all these black abortions. It's really bad. I don't think it breaks my heart. Kanye West talks about this too. He talks about it in the song Ego Death that he did with Thundercat, I think. And it's a really prescient point. Like people shouldn't be it shouldn't be the norm that we have to do abortions. The norm should be that everyone has birth control, men and women. The norm should be everybody has health care. The norm should be that black mothers are not dying more than white mothers. The norm should be that all life is equal and all life is precious. And hopefully, if you're creating a life, that life gets to continue to come into existence and become a person. I don't believe personhood starts in a fetal state. That said, I do think abortion is important, though difficult. So that's my fucking take on abortion. That's my take. And I'd happily tell it to anybody, any platform, my own Instagram. I go anywhere and I'd say that. And it's funny because like abortion and like stem cells and shit, like that just dropped from the dialogue. Like I don't understand why for some reason we don't talk
Well,
about
well, Trump talks about it. It's a very like Bush era cultural thing. Like it was like one of like the cultural issues that were like they really harped on to, like gay marriage was one. It was like Bush era. This is like what we talk about, we fight about. Like Terry Schiavo and the end of life, what is it? Like euthanasia, or like end of life, pain killing, etc. Chapel House is such a
I thought that was funny.
Sorry, I don't want to like take the energy or the wind out of your sails right there, because I thought that was a very articulate and honest and I think heartfelt and special way to talk about something that's not easy to talk about. So I think I applaud you for.
I feel heard. I feel seen.
Well, because it's like I don't want to go too deep into this topic. As a man, because it's like that's just
I agree.
It's like how this, which is I was
your toe into it a little bit, but you can't go too hard.
Well, I have two reasons why I was like involved in this issue specifically as a teenager. One is because at an early age, which you should not be in this position, but my mom was like, I was supposed to abort you. All my sisters were like, do it. Don't have a kid. You don't want it.
Why would she
and
tell you that?
I'm paraphrasing. She wasn't that brutal.
Okay.
But it was still like presented to me that like it was a real consideration she had while she was pregnant when she was 26 years old, and that like it was normal at that time in the 80s, but like a lot of her sisters had been through it, and they were like, yeah, it's fine, it's no big deal, just go through it, and she chose not to. So like, and then I went to Catholic school, so we were like indoctrinated in all this for a very long time. And my first protest was the March for Life. When I was like 14 or 15, they bust you down there. Those kids, that video of those kids in MAGA hats that were like confronting the Native American guy with the drum. Yeah, like I was one of those kids when I was like 14 or 15.
Same. I want to know my 7-year-old political feelings. They're really funny.
When you were 7?
Yeah, as a 7-year-old, so I went to like a Christian elementary school with like 10 people, and like we were obviously heavily indoctrinated, and I obviously was like anti-abortion and Republican as a 7-year-old and like praying to God.
You were already aware of this as an issue.
Yeah, because I was a fucking like fundamentalist. I was raised like fundamentalist Christian, so the whole world is a spiritual warfare when you're like raised in like fundamental Christianity. And like I had a very strong sense of like being connected to like mystical divine shit at a really early age. And like I would like beg God as a child, I would beg God to teach me how to speak in tongues and do prophecies. And I would read the Bible. I read all of the book of Revelation as a 7-year-old. And I was like, what's really funny is because I was 7, I thought the Bible was like a history book. I didn't know that.
Wait, you read the book of Revelation?
As a 7-year-old.
Pause here, because I don't think that most people have read the book of Revelations. So I don't think that. Let's like.
Okay, the Revelation is the last book of the Bible. It's a prophecy about the future, and I read it as a history text.
It's literally the end of days. It's like there are like the skies are opened, Anthony, and like a gong rings, and then like a third of the Earth's population just get murdered. And then
Anthony,
there are 4 horsemen, and there's like a creature that's covered in eyeballs. Sorry.
Anthony, I read the book of Revelation. I closed the Bible. I was like 7 years old. It was like 9 a.m. I was like, damn, that was crazy. And I put it down, and I thought it happened in the past. And then like 2 years later, I found out it happened in the future. And I was like, no way. No way does that happen in the future. I was shocked. Anyway, and then I decided I wasn't a Christian at age 14. And that was interesting.
I think I mean, I'm trying to think if I ever took the book of Revelations literally. Because like when you take the book of Revelations literally, it might change a few things about the way you see the world.
Yeah,
so.
It does. It does, Anthony. When you're raised as a fundamentalist of any sort, whatever fucking religion you're part of, like it really does color the way you look at the world. Like I'm not a Christian anymore, but I have a very like a strong appreciation for mysticism and a strong belief in the non-rational and a strong sense of spirituality for sure. And like I'm pretty passionate. Like I definitely channel like whatever used to be going to religion into like culture and politics and comedy, because I have to put it somewhere. And like unfortunately I don't really believe in any religion anymore. Maybe I'm the closest to like a Buddhist if we're to really like kind of label my opinions, but I don't even think I'm really fully a Buddhist because I'm pretty romantic and like conservative. Like I'm basically like a Christian without Christianity. Like when I think about like my actual like way of treating the world, like I do believe, oh my God, we have 2 minutes left in this live stream. I believe in treating others as you wish to be treated. I believe in being loving. I believe in being kind. I really believe in caring for your neighbor. I believe in like the good things about Christianity, like really strongly. And
Well, just to circle back to where we started with this election, and just because one of us hasn't said it yet, but on the Bernie would have won factor. I was talking about last night, and I think one of the most important things I've ever seen him do that actually gave me chills at the time was when he went to Liberty University in like 2015, like at the start of his campaign when nobody knew who he was really. I think it was 2015 or early 2016, but I think it was before he was fully on the map. So I want to say it was early. And he went to Jerry Falwell's Fundamentalist Christian University and talked about the Bible with them. And he sat on a stage and they talked about all these issues. And literally the audience is full of young fundamentalist Christians. And he's like this Jew from Brooklyn, fucking socialist Jew from Brooklyn that just shows up out in the middle of one of these, right-wing indoctrination factories and is saying, where can we find common ground? Maybe we agree on a few things. And the ultimate thing, and like I think there's a human element to that of why he's doing it, but I also think there's a strategic way to go and talk to those people rather than just write them off. Because you could make a case, like even if you were against abortion, say, and you had quality of life. Like I grew up, Catholic, and it was very much promoted. Like, and we were talking about the Irish Catholic abortion, adoption, and with like a nunnery. I found out one of my best friends has an older sister that was like his mom when she was a teenager, like went.
to the
Uh-oh.
podcast.